My job, well, is that I keep people in cages. Yeah, I know it's inhumane. No, I don't care for your opinion on it. There's a reason I do what I do. The people, all, are of ordinary appearance. Some are fat, some are skinny, some have blonde hair, others are brunettes. If it were up to me, I'd let the people go, but I can't. They all did something, and now they're in cages. The cages aren't cramped or anything. They're about 5 by 5 by 5. There are 7 cages total. Each one holds a different person from a different background. Every 3 days, one gets taken away and another is wheeled in. Never a member of the opposite sex either. If a man was in the cage, he'd be replaced by a man. Same for a woman. I don't know their names, but it's not my job to. I'm paid to feed them and watch them. I've given the cages names, which is then passed on to their occupants. Cage 1 is Fred. Usually Fred's occupants are between 5'7" and 5'10". They always have brown hair, but styles and length vary, as does their weight. They're to be given 14 ounces of AB blood once every 7 hours. No mirrors within 30 feet of their cage. Cage 2 is Cassie. All the Cassies have been 5'4" or 5'6", never 5'5". They're always blonde, smaller woman, petite, one might say. They have to be given exactly 40 fluid ounces of water and a pound of raw meat daily. Cassie's cage is electrified, unless she's being fed. Cage 3 is Earl. Earl always is a scruffy-looking dude with a handlebar mustache. The hair doesn't matter, nor does color. His rules are simple: 1 jar of mustache wax and a copy of the Times. However, the copy must always be not from within the previous year. He's also not to be given hair tonic for any reason. Cage number 4 is Mary. Mary is always a religious type, which religion varies. So far as I can tell, we've had 3 Muslims, 5 Christians, 5 pagans, and 2 Hindu Marys. They're almost always 5'3", and varied in weight. No set rules, so I just give them whatever I have available as food. Well, except one. They're not allowed any access to holy or religious imagery, no matter what. Cage 5 is Chad. Chad is always a blonde guy, usually clean cut with clothes that indicate high social status. Designer clothes and the like. I don't much care for Chad. He's to be given a cup of some green liquid, and the liquid never kills them. And it doesn't even make them sick. Chad doesn't talk much, mainly because when he does, a black ooze comes out of every hole in his face. It's freaky at first, but you get used to it. Cage 6 is Bob. Bob is interesting, mainly because I can't tell what each person has in common. So far we've had all males, but they've consisted of 7 African Americans, 14 Caucasians, 8 Asians, and 13 mixed race. They've been everything from plumbers to bankers, even homeless. Oh well, the mystery goes on. No set rules in place. They do require cleanup, though. On day 2, their eyes are always missing, replaced with, oddly enough, 2 coins. They never seem to be in pain, however, even make idle chat with me. And finally, Cage 7. Cage 7 has only ever had 1 occupant. She's never been taken away. She's a 6-year-old girl named Lisa. She has a blue dress, blonde hair and pigtails, and an ever-present smile. The weird part? She's been here for at least a decade. Hasn't aged a day. All she ever does is sit in her cage. She's been given coloring books and 30 minutes of TV daily. Again, I don't make the rules. All I know is that these people all did something. Something the higher-ups won't tell me. So now we have the cages. The very unique and specifically made cages. I found this job through, of all things, Craigslist. Previous guard, whose name has not been disclosed, left instructions for the feeding, maintenance, etc. of the people. He listed their many quirks and how to handle each situation as it may arise. I was weirded out, but you get used to it. Yeah. That was 2010. And here we are now, 2020. And I'm still watching people in cages. The previous guy told me that they used to be simple beds, with each of the various characters strapped to them. All of them except Lisa. Lisa was always given a small feather bed, and while she was strapped in, was always tucked into a blanket like one would do a child. My boss, or at least the guy who tells me my job, is an older guy. His left hand is kind of fucked up. Said it was a cooking accident. Got hot grease, as it were. He could pass for an aging movie star, in all honesty. Salt and pepper hair with a voice like a knife through butter. Something's, I don't know, a little off about him, though. I swear, I never remember his face correctly. It always looks different than I remember. Anyway, my boss, who goes by TD, told me the previous guy held this post for 30 years. I mean, the pay is good, don't get me wrong, but 30 years? A bit long. My first day on the job, I was shown the cages and explained what would be happening with the people. All I'm allowed to know is they did something really bad, so now they're locked away for 3 days. The beds are revoked for a reason. No one's ever made it clear. It's something about teeth and a missing ear, anyway. For 10 years, it's remained this way. Every 3 days, somebody leaves, somebody enters. All except for Lisa. Every new person gets the same treatment as the one they replace. Now, what worries me is what happened yesterday. They added an 8th cage. The installation of the 8th cage wrapped up yesterday, and today, they brought in the first occupant. They brought in an old man. He wasn't even able to stand. They had to wheel him in as he was wheelchair bound. I couldn't imagine why they'd feel the need to lock him away. He wore an old respirator over his face connected to an oxygen tank on his back. He looked about 90, and it fit comfortably into his cage. I heard his ribs rattle with every breath as the door was locked shut. Instructions for care, as directed by TD, were 1 live rodent, up to 5 pounds in weight. This was to be fed to him once per day. I think I'll call this one Bill for now. It seems fitting somehow. Today they took another of the Freds away. 2 hours later he was replaced by a different man, but ticking the usual boxes. 5'8", brown hair, the usual. And this Fred was morbidly obese, at least 400 or so pounds. Mary was saying her usual prayers and Lisa was coloring. A quiet day on the job, as the usuals were. That wasn't until feeding time. No surprises until I got to Bill. The old man didn't seem aware of his surroundings, if I'm being honest. He looked to be on death's door. Truthfully, I wondered what anyone in his state could have done. I tossed in a large rat, still squirming. He caught it quickly. He lifted off his oxygen mask, just enough to expose his mouth, and unhinged his fucking jaw like a snake. He ate it whole, bones and all. I jumped back a bit, startled by the sudden motion of a seemingly weak old man. I moved on to Bob. Bob's eyes were replaced today. Oh, by the way, I feel I should mention the coins aren't the same kind of coin every time. They've been everything from American coins to Greek drachmas. Anyway, the cleanup comes in and cleans up the blood from the replacement. Yeah, it's not as clean as I may have implied. They aren't just, like, in the sockets. Like, they're stitched there. They're usually, like, is quite a bit of blood, and this particular Bob is an investment banker, so he claims, from Manhattan. He's a middle-aged guy, about 35, if I had to guess. This time, his eyes were a pair of 50-cent pieces, JFK ones, if I had to guess. And grabbing a mop, a bucket of water, and a stun gun, for Bob, I got to work. The cleanup process usually takes about 20 to 30 minutes, and next was bringing Lisa her television for her allotted 30 minutes. She always prefers to watch movies, like Cannibal Holocaust or The Human Centipede. Her favorite movie is a Serbian film. The TV, well, it was one of the ones that you'd see at school, like on a wheeled table strapped down. You know what I mean. She had a doll that I hadn't seen her with before, and she had a teddy bear, as was part of the instructions for care. Didn't think it was important, so I didn't mention it. But this doll was new. The doll had 2 hollow sockets for eyes, and chunks of black hair stapled to its head. It wore a blue dress similar to Lisa's, and in place of her hands, it had what appeared to be the paws of a cat. It stood about 2 feet tall, its face a perpetual grin. And again, not unlike the young girl to whom it was in the possession of. I made a note to inform the higher-ups and moved on to the next cage. Then it was grabbing an archived newspaper and a jar of mustache wax for Earl. He grumbled a thank you and retreated to the corner of his cell. Fred had made a mess with his meal of human blood. Sighing, I grabbed the mop again. My job, as you can likely tell, is not very exciting. The worst part is the waiting. Every once in a while, one of my guests tries to escape. Thus, I have a small assault rifle with anti-personnel rounds next to my small desk that I monitor them from. Oh, my workstation? I don't know why I haven't told you about this. I have a desk with 14 monitors. The 14 monitors on the bottom show the occupants in their cages. The ones on the top have vital readings. And if they ever get too low or too high, I'm to press a button, call in special staff, and they take care of it. Again, I'm not told why they can't, but I assume it has to do with their health? Question mark. But feeding them raw meat and human blood likely isn't helping matters. So I'm not entirely sure on that, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. The most common breakout is the Marys. To date, 15 Marys have escaped, resulting in 42 casualties. Freds have escaped 6 times, with 20 casualties. One Fred I saw drank a guy's blood like a juice box. His jugular was a straw. And the rest have tried as well, but not with the success of Mary and Fred, except for Lisa, who has never tried. At least not while I've been here. My rifle is a last resort if the security fails, but thankfully I haven't needed to use it. Yet. So, while my job's dull, I'm always on edge, especially as I don't know much about number 8. Yet. The weirdest part is the constant weeping I hear from number 8's cage. Now I'm curious about the next occupant for cage number 8, if I'm being honest. If there ever is one. I guess we'll find out in 3 days, huh? Or whenever they move them out. Oh, I feel I should clarify. See, they aren't taking it out in any certain order. There's always a chance the next one taken will be Fred. Or hell, it might be Lisa. Point is, there's no set rotation. They're just taken, and randomly. Anyway, my next shift's about to start, so I'll have to check in with you all later. Till next time. Okay, well, okay, I know what I said, but this is some major shit. Okay. Lisa's gone. She's not broken out, just gone. I was watching the monitors, 1 second she's there, and the next, poof, gone. I'll put the place in lockdown. Sounded the alarm, whole 9 yards. I'll keep you guys updated as best I can. Well, there's a lot of dead bodies. The good news is I'm still kicking. The bad news is Lisa's still MIA, but the doll, well, the doll that's in cage number 8 now. TD got here an hour ago and I gave him a rundown. He seemed extra freaked out that Lisa vanished, especially on the same day as number 8's arrival. I mean, it's not my job to ask questions, but I'm starting to. I'll keep you guys informed. Hey there kids, it's me, Mrcreepypasta, and I just wanted to thank you so much for watching tonight's video or listening to it on the podcast, if that's how you happen to get it. Mrcreepypasta Storytime is available on any podcasting service that you happen to use, and actually across a lot more as of this month. We're now on Spotify, on Apple, on Google, on just about everything else, because I don't use podcasting on anything else besides those. And a very special thank you to everybody on that Patreon, patreon.com/Mrcreepypasta, especially Ariel Torres, Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Ken Lando Higuchi, Brianna Van Tine-Janzen, Chompski, TheRedOakShieldVirus, Sindee Barney, Asia, G. Weevil 3, Diana Kraus, Stephen VanHuss, Tristain Pelton, Nico, TheGingerBroz, Dante Rowe, Raphael Rodriguez, Don Meulmeester, Eliminator 86, SteampunkSinner, Kaleb Dougal, Sky Harbor, The Homeless Bird 93, Gabrielle Undefined, Bobby Carmen, Liam Newman, Aaron Stormcrow, Bobby Jean Torgan, Dr. Strawberry, The Wormhole, Barbara Macedo, and Vic. Thank you guys so much, and if anyone would like to join them on that list, head over to patreon.com/Mrcreepypasta. Here's hoping that you guys are loving the horror as much as I am. And sweet dreams.